Hi, I'm Anthony Originello, CEO of the Chartered Professionals in Human Resources for BC and Yukon. We represent more than 8,000 members, and as the organization dedicated to advancing the HR profession through education, advocacy, awareness, professional development, as well as our recognized and impactful CPHR designation, we are proud to be a sponsor of this show. We have been the voice of the HR profession since 1942. Learn more about us at cphrbc.ca.
In this segment of Careers That Matter, I'm joined by Ian Tostenson, the president of the BC Restaurant and Food Services Association. Ian, welcome.
Hi, Stuart. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing good, but I'm wondering what the job of being president of the Restaurant and Food Services Association looks like. Like, what are your responsibilities?
We have 15,000 restaurants, and our brand positioning is quite clear, is we're here to solve your issues, and we put ourselves out there. I mean, we put ourselves out there, and we say 24/7 because we recognize that in most cases, the businesses are small businesses in BC. They don't have the resources to wade through all the requirements that they need to operate their business. It could be getting hung up with a licensing issue, lots of HR issues. We offer HR support to restaurants. You'd be surprised that you don't get 15,000 calls, but you'll get 10 or 15 quite regularly all the time. People just say, can you help me here? Can you help me there?
And then they become representative of issues.
Totally, yeah. It doesn't cost much. Like it's $400 a year to join us. And we put it out there because we know that in most cases, the government doesn't recognize this, but they're not sitting in their back rooms on their computers trying to figure this stuff out. They're serving their guests, they're trying to keep their businesses open. So it's a lot of pressure that way. I personally feel a lot of pressure because when I hear the industry is not doing well, I take that personally. If I hear that we've got problems to solve the government, I take that personally. It's my job to solve that. And I think the government recognizes that, and we have a very good relationship with that way. And I think they realize that I'm here sincerely and from a very sincere point of view to try to make a difference. And so it works.
So on one end, you're an advocate for all those different companies. On another side, you have to be sort of inward facing to them so that they can get to you or your team.
Yeah.
How big is your team?
6.
Small.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're running lean.
We're running really lean, but you learn to prioritize. And we have sort of 3 constituents. You're right, we talk to industry, we keep them informed. In fact, it's like a shareholders report to us. Every couple of weeks we send out a report. And it's like, here's the issue, here's our action, here's what we're doing for you. So they go, okay, great, I don't have to worry about that. Then we have the public and the media. The media is always wanting a comment from us. And so that's our opportunity to talk to the public, let them know. We did this during the pandemic, through the eyes of how restaurants are performing, generally is how your life is performing. So if we're not doing well, you're probably not doing well. If we're closed for the pandemic, you're at home. And so, all the trends in alcohol and eating is all coming from restaurants. So we have a real responsibility to inform the public. And then we have government and informing government. And we try to bring solutions to them to the situations that they're in. So it's a really fascinating position.
Right.
It's a lot different. I was in the wine industry for many years before this. So I've always had government around me, but this one I take it personally.
You're also an administrator though too. You're responsible.
Yeah.
So you're running a small business or organization.
You got a payroll
on top of those things that you're doing.
Yeah.
How many hours a week are you working?
I think you just work all the time. I mean, I absolutely love it, and so you don't sort of go. I mean, whatever we have to do, we do. So we always do this at Christmas time. We say, you know what? Everybody goes, we're closed for 2 weeks or whatever. We always say we're fully open 24/7. You call us. I post my number. You call me directly. Yeah. People won't bother you unless they absolutely have to. But I think if you enjoy it, then it doesn't matter. So it's pretty much all the time. I mean, I know I learned through the pandemic, we had business owners that called us that were in tears. They didn't know where life was going for them. And that's our responsibility to help guide them.
Yeah. So where'd you go to high school?
Grew up in Kelowna, went to high school in Kelowna.
Yeah.
Went to UBC here.
Did you go to UBC with the idea that one day you were going to be the president of the Restaurant and Food Services?
No, I wanted to be in the radio business for some reason because my uncle owned a part radio station in Kelowna. I thought this was the coolest thing, talk radio.
Yeah.
But I ended up going to commerce, Bachelor of Commerce at UBC. Then I went to work for the Bank of Montreal and for 3 years and learned a whole bunch of stuff. And then I was hired by Kelowna Wines.
Oh.
And they said, we want to hire a sales guy. And my dad said, do you really want to do that? And I said, no, I think I really want to do that. So I went from how do you get 25 cents out of the Bank of Montreal to pay for your parking to working the wine business, which was like full on. You just go out there and make it happen. And I absolutely loved it because the winery, Kelowna Wines with a C, had been part of our whole culture growing up in the city of
Yes.
Kelowna.
Well, and British Columbia.
And British Columbia was the
everybody
largest
knew it.
commercial winery. That's right, yeah. Big wines and little wines. So
Yeah.
I started off as a sales guy, and 8 years later, I became the president and CEO for the next 15 years. And I was young and inexperienced. We were a unionized company, but I learned a lot, and I learned through that whole process that things work with people, and things work with you when you have humility, and you have vulnerability in front of people. And we collectively solved a lot of problems. And we had a really good run for about 22 years.
So walk me through, you started in sales, and within a number of years, you're now president and CEO.
Yeah. We were purchased, and we were a public company, and the company was Kelowna Wines, Granville Island Brewing, Potter's Distilling, and a couple of breweries in Ontario. And it was losing a whole bunch of money. It lost like $12 million. It was owned by a flaky Vancouver Stock Exchange company called Pine Ridge. And so they fired the president. He was a really nice guy, but he didn't know anything about this industry. And so they phoned me and said, you seem to have a lot to say about everything, and you seem to be really enthusiastic. So we need a new president and CEO.
How old were you at
And
the
my
time?
wife said, I was 34 years old.
Wow.
And my wife said to me, who's on the phone? I said, it's, the phone is some board of director guy. And I said, she said, what are you going to say? I said, I have no choice. I said, yes. And I thought if I last 30 days, at least I could tell them my next employer I tried.
Yeah.
And, but it was fascinating because we were public. Our parent company collapsed eventually. We went through all that. I couldn't read a financial statement really. I remember, going to a director's meeting and looking at financial statements, but I learned all that. Mm-hmm. And I was thrown into the fire. So I'm particularly good at being thrown into situations and solving them. I really enjoyed that. And so that helped me a lot for this side of it, because you're always regulated when you're a producer. We started Brewing Owl Winery, was one of our investments, and we took that $12 million loss in 1 year and made $1 million.
The following year?
The following year.
Wow.
And
that's a huge turnaround.
And I had a lot of influence along the way, my career-wise. One of the guys that was a total influencer, and I love him to death, was David Foster.
Yeah.
Because during this time, David started the David Foster Foundation. We were a big supporter in terms of the fundraising that David was doing. And I was nervous. I mean, like David Foster, I love all his music and all the stuff he did, but I got involved with him, and then I became a director, and I became the president of the foundation for about 4 or 5 years, working with David. But I learned so much from him because he was just, again, a very vulnerable person, very successful, demanding and exacting, but boy, talk about motivation. And I remember being somewhere with him, and John, we were invited to his place in California, and he was having this benefit, and we were at this house for a reception, and he walked over, he said, Ian, John McCaw, Ian Tostenson, you guys make it happen. Well, John McCaw was the owner of the Grizzlies, and he was a connector that way, and he did it in such an informal way. To this day, I think that he's probably the most influential person in my entire life, just because of his success, the way he's handled it, and the way that I could model him, and so it's been great. And I sometimes feel he's like the guy that I still have to please. I know that if David saw me fail, he would probably pick up the phone and have a lot to say about it. So it's been quite something.
So how long were you at Kelowna Wines before making the shift where you are now?
It was 22 years.
Wow.
And then I took a couple of years and did some consulting. I like that, but I missed the people side of it. Someone phoned me and said they're in a restaurant association. I went to the restaurant association. Like, we used to pay those guys money each year. I don't know what the hell they ever did for us. And I actually truly meant that.
Yeah.
But I came into it and it was the same situation. They had 30 directors. Wow. They were losing money. It was old boys school. It was just, and the only reason that people joined the restaurant association so they could get a credit card rate, special rate for your credit card processing. That went away, and then it became a real brand. And I actually, so it's been, 17 years. I couldn't figure this out until the pandemic. It was the pandemic that made me realize the importance of the organization and how functional it could be. But trying to find, I just didn't want to be an organization. It's like, old boys club, and you sign up, and I tell you we're having meetings, and you go, well, you're not accomplishing anything. So I need to accomplish things. And that's why I think today, with all this experience, has really helped me, is that I have to look you in the eye and say, Stuart, for $400 a year, I've got to deliver some value here. I can't have you saying, well, that's a waste of money. You have to say, you have to become my biggest advocate. And I have to work really hard for that because you're my shareholder. Yeah. So, yeah, it works.
Well, it's been a good career. If you look at yourself and you think, what is a personality trait that you've discovered, because it unfolds, that you think was fundamental to your success?
Being humble and vulnerable.
Explain.
I think when you sit with someone in government, you can't be the know-it-all, I have all the answers. I remember, I was talking about David Foster, I remember being in a board meeting right now, and he said, you know what, I know people that are way smarter than me that have the answer to that question. And I've always felt that way. There's always somebody that's got a better perspective or a different perspective, and you got to bring them in. And so you need a lot of collaboration. And when you find that you work that way, then people will open up and they will start to expose the issues that they're faced with. They'll expose their own vulnerability, and they're going to recognize that, you could have a title as a president CEO of Cascadia Brands and think you're a big deal, or you could have that title and cherish it and let people know that you really need to have their insights and their partnership. Mm-hmm. And I find that serves me well in every case. Being curious.
That's the other element, isn't it?
Yep.
Humility and curiosity.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Opens up a world to you that otherwise you wouldn't see and people wouldn't give you access to.
Yeah. And kind of breaking news, I've always wanted to write a book. And it started out as what your kids will teach you about business. Having two boys. And then it became what your kids and dogs will teach you about business, because we had golden retrievers. And I suddenly recognized that how you train a golden retriever is how you should treat people. You positive rewards, lots of recognition. And now it's like, what I want to do is try to take some of the stuff that I just talked about, and the benefit of the things that I've seen. I've seen some pretty crazy things behind the scenes. Like stuff in my life with David Foster that are really interesting situations to be in. Stuff I've seen in the political side with premiers that people don't see publicly, but those are situations that I think I can explain and say, this is my takeaway. Maybe it's something that you might find interesting yourself. So, but I just can't get that. I had lunch with Peter Legge.
Yes.
I love Peter. He was a real influence, and I always admired his public speaking.
Yes.
And about 4 years ago, we had lunch, and I said, I'm trying to write this book. He goes, well, write the goddamn thing. And I said, but I'm just stuck. He goes, let's write the first chapter together.
Yeah.
And he goes, I'm sitting here with my friend Peter Legge in an Italian restaurant having great pasta, and this is how it all goes, and here's how it all started. And Peter was a real influence, of course. Peter was a real influence in my life, and these are the things I learned. So I'll
good
get
start.
there. I'll get there. It was a good start, yeah. So I'm excited about it, and I think my dream would be is to write a book and then go out, and I would love to stand at Rogers Arena in front of 15,000 people and just unveil everything about me, and not about me so much, but my experiences.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
So due to hit bookshelves, what time next year?
1 year.
1 year from now.
I'll come back.
Okay. Well, thank you, Ian. Thanks for giving
Thanks,
us a glimpse into your current role and how you got there.
Thank you so much.